So today what we're going to be doing is taking a look at impermanent loss and how this can potentially impact your overall DeFi yield farming positions. So here we are, we're on the Bitcoin USDT chart. You can see I have two ranges marked out here. So obviously the two blue lines are pretty much setting up my range. My new approach kind of going forward for yield farming is to kind of a bit more focus on wider ranges. Obviously, tighter range is going to get you much higher APRs and stuff like that. However, the big problem there is there's a lot more handling and work need to be done on it. I think that just becomes an eventually a drain, and you can potentially get knocked out ranges fairly quickly. So again, we're just using Bitcoin here as an example. So you can see here the green line is a potential opportunity to enter. This is pretty much bang in the middle of this entire range. It's a 20% width, so it's 10 to the up and 10 down, give or take. And obviously we're looking to get in here on the center point. Now, with impermanent loss is you have to imagine as the price drops down, what happens is if our price is dropping down here, we're using our USDT in this scenario to buy Bitcoin, and it's going to keep doing that the whole way down to this bottom line. And eventually, if we go down here, we're out of range. We're not earning fees. We're 100% converted, obviously, our USDT into BTC. Now, this is potentially good, obviously, in one way, obviously, the dollar cost average and buy into positions. However, it can potentially hit you bigger is if you were to actually just hold your USDT and hold your actual Bitcoin. You may just earn much more in the actual overall value because of the loss is not going to be as big. Obviously, the same is going to happen to the upside. So again, if we bring that up, what's going to happen here? It's going to sell your Bitcoin for USDT, and again, once we go out of the range at the top, it stops selling it. You're 100% converted from Bitcoin to USDT. And again, the same is true here. If we have a big push, what can actually happen is impermanent loss up to the upside, which pretty much means that you probably would have earned more by just holding it. So the key here is what a lot of people tend to do is, if we bring this up quickly, they tend to set their range as something like this. Super tight range. And what happens is you're out of range really quickly. You have impermanent loss, and it's a major impact on you because what can happen is you can go out of your range very quickly and you're not earning any fees. The key here is we want to be earning fees. Fees are what's going to eventually offset any impermanent loss that happens. So I suppose the key thing here is how to check it, how to test and see. So I've built out a few tools here, and the idea of this is pretty much to help kind of everyone on their DeFi journey. So I have a tool here built out, Impermanent Loss Calculator. Again, this is still hopefully getting through all the bugs on this, but if we assume we're getting into Bitcoin, and a bit of jumping back and forth here, we assume the Bitcoin price at the moment is 112,300. So 112,300. Obviously, we're getting into USDT, and that's obviously a dollar. So with that, straight away, we have two ranges. We have 98,000 as the lower and 124 as the upper. And again, that worked out a total of 20%. So you can see here, I can manually set the bounds of the range, or I have it just set to 20%. Again, plus or minus is going to be 20%, or it's 10%, which is again, overall, the 10% width of it, which is not what we want. What we're wanting is the 20%. And again, I think it converts it. So it's nearly bang on to what we want. So with that now, you can test your scenarios of potential impermanent loss and how much it's going to impact here. So like I mentioned here, it's 124,000 is the upper and 98,000 is the lower. What we want to do is see if the price of Bitcoin, in this case is token A, drops by 10%. You can see straight away just 1.43% impermanent loss. And you can see if we deposited $10,000 into this, our LP value is down to 9,400. However, if we were to actually just hold the tokens and not set up an LP, you're going to be earning 9,547, or not earning is what your value would be held at. Now, the key thing there to understand is, I suppose, these two numbers. You can see there very quickly with a tight range, you can potentially be out of your position now if you set it at 10%. However, now you're in the opportunity here is if you're set it to, like what I mentioned, say 20%, then you're in a position that it's actually earning. So again, we could push it up again by another 8, 9, 10%. You can see there that it's going to earn a little bit different. The impermanent loss is only 0.97. And again, you can see the position breakdown, scenario price. You can see obviously the decimals are a bit off here on this one, but You can see the hodl value is obviously far more, or not far more, much more than the position value again, which is still just showing you that hodling is good, obviously, for the main reason you're not going to really impact impermanent loss. Obviously, the key thing what I really like to focus on, and what I'm going to try and focus more on, is one, setting a bit of wider range, and two, farming tokens, blue chip assets that I really want to hold long term. I think that is key, and not be farming these risky ones that you're maybe just trying to APR chase. So again, look, you can let me know in the comments if you're interested in this. I'll send you the link for it. But the idea here is just something that you can kind of get an idea of percentages and how much actually impermanent loss can hit you on different ranges, and again, see it as a build into your overall portfolio. And hopefully I can have an updated version of this in the coming weeks. It's a bit more unique and links a bit better with wallets and stuff like that. So with that in mind, if we jump over here to VFAT, you can see here I set a position. It's only 11% at the moment for with Bitcoin. Again, 10%, 10%, which is giving me the 20% range. As I said, if we drop this down and we only wanted the higher APR, 21% APR, it's a much more risk of us of actually getting out of range quicker. So again, like I mentioned, it's only going to be around here, and again around here. So there's a higher risk of us actually getting out of range, which in turn is not going to earn us any fees. And pretty much the fees are the key thing, is what we really want to do. The key thing here to remember is obviously concentrate liquidity, and then just overall the entire liquidity. So if we jump over here to SwapX, SwapX, as you all know, our official sponsors of the entire series. You can see here we can get into this wrap BTC USDC position. We can get APR of around 10% if we deposit BTC into it. And again, what's going to happen there is impermanent loss is not going to play as big of a factor in it, because the range is set into the entire range. Hence why the APRs may be at times a little bit up or lower than what you would get, say, if you're farming these kind of positions. But it just goes to show there is opportunities and options there for everyone. So like as I mentioned previously, SwapX is one of these platforms that's really good for users that are looking to kind of test the waters, get set up into positions, and start getting used to actually earning fees. And obviously if you're looking to really fine tune what you're wanting to earn and things like that, you can get into obviously the concentrated liquidity manual side of things here. Again, it's going to show you pretty much your ranges, and from there you're going to get a rough idea of your APR range and stuff like that. So again, definitely an opportunity to be really testing it out. But I think SwapX obviously give you the tools there to kind of really build it out the way you like. So hopefully that helps you understand impermanent loss. It's not a bad thing. It's not something you should be afraid of. However, you need to be aware of it. You need to understand the impact of this on your overall position. And sometimes what can happen is people get into LP positions with high APRs or out of range and wonder why their actual LP is worth less, their fees are worth less, and overall, when they take apart the LP, is worth less. Key thing there is because impermanent loss has made a big thing. And what can happen, as I mentioned, is you come down here, you can stay down around here for a couple of days, and as long as you don't close up your position, it's not permanent. That's the key thing to remember. As soon as you close your position, you've locked in that loss. However, what can happen is you can go from a minus 7%, say, in permanent loss, and it can eventually go back up to here where you're back to positive again, and it's no loss whatsoever. So that's, I suppose, one of the benefits of having a wider range is there. Yeah, look, I'm going to leave it there. If you're interested in this tool, let me know in the comments. I have a few things changing around with what I'm building. This will probably change now to Discord. It's not going to be a Discord group anymore. I'm changing it to a more mainstream kind of platform, which is going to allow it to kind of interact, I think, much better and overall grow much better. So hopefully more to come on that in the coming days and weeks. So thanks very much for watching, and I hope everyone has a great day.